Hey guys, my name is Solomon. I'm a drummer. I've been drumming for almost 10 years now. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself as well as talk about my recent cover of Metallica's Enter Sandman. All right, so jumping right in, like I said, I've been drumming for almost 10 years. I got my first drum kit when I was, I believe, 2 for Christmas from my uncle. It was one of those toy ones. I think it had a bass, a rack tom or two, and a cymbal that sounded absolutely horrible. And I would take my plastic stick and I would reach down to the bass and I would whack it with my stick instead of using the pedal. And I would take the sticks, I'd go, jingle bells, jingle bells. So, thank you to my uncle for getting me started. He originally got me the kit as a joke to my parents. He's like, haha, now you're gonna have to listen to him drumming all the time. And now here I am 10 years later playing Metallica. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. So then when I was 7, my parents got me my first real drum kit. It was a lot smaller than this one back here, because I was a little guy back then. It was very small. And they got it for me for my 7th birthday. I think it had the hi-hat, had the snare, bass, 2 rack toms, floor tom, and the bass. Maybe a crash. And I was like, what? I literally, for the first time in my life, was speechless. And I think we've got a recording of it. My aunt actually goes, he's speechless! Everybody was so excited. It had been my lifelong dream to be a drummer. But I was like, whoa. I sat behind it. I had no idea what to do. Like, 2 years old, I was jingle bells. Now I'm like, that's not right. What do? I had no idea. Part of the gift was some friends of mine from school, their uncle knew how to play drums and guitar, and he would give lessons. So I started going to his house, and he would give me drum lessons. For the first, I want to say 3 months. I don't remember that well. It was almost 10 years ago. For the first almost 3 months, I think, I just used the snare. So rhythm, rhythm, rhythm. Yeah, I learned how to read music. I don't really read music today. I couldn't read and play at the same time anymore because now I learned to play by ear. That's how far I've come. And then the next 3 months after that, he started teaching me the basic beats, like the money beats, stuff like that. And then for the next year and a half, I started working on my first song. And I was really into the Newsboys at that time because when I was, I believe, 7, my parents took me to see the Newsboys at a local church. And then the Newsboys were getting ready. My dad wanted to be there. I wanted to walk around. I wanted one of those giant balloons they were tossing around. And he's like, no, I want to be there. I want to be there when the Newsboys come on stage, because he was a big DC Talk fan back in the day, which now I am. I'm like, yeah, Jesus freak all the way. And they come out, and I think they opened with Fishers of Men, and I was like, whoa, these guys are really good. And then I believe they played Jesus Freak, but then they got to God's Not Dead. And that is when Duncan Phillip did his iconic, the platform he's on raises up into the air. And halfway through the song, he gets up, he's rocking back and forth, not playing anymore. And all of a sudden, the platform starts rocking with him. And it's like, what's he doing? He's gonna fall. tilts, what is that, 90 degrees, starts spinning, and then he starts playing, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I remember yelling at the top of my lungs from that balcony, "You are my hero!" Like, that was the moment where I'm like, this guy is awesome. For years after that, I looked up to Duncan Phillip. I didn't play much Newsboys, but I was like, I want to be like him, where I can be so good that I can tip myself over 90 degrees without fearing for my life, spin around in circles, and still play the drums. I I don't know if I'm that good yet. I've never tested the theory, but I was like, okay, first song I'm gonna learn, "God's Not Dead" by the Newsboys. Um, and then so I start learning the song, and it took me about a year and a half. So I was probably 9 when I finally, what at the time I would have called, mastered the song. Uh, and I remember when my teacher told me, all right, I think you're ready to learn a new song. Go home for the next week, keep practicing the song, but think about another song you want to learn. And I walked out of his house and I was like, whoa, really? I'm that good at this song? And I got in the car and my mom's like, how'd it go? And I'm like, I did it. I got the song down. He's gonna teach me a new song. I was like, man. And at that point, I'd been playing for like 2 years. Like, that's how much I had been practicing that song. I'd been playing drums for 2 years and had been working on that song for, I think, a year and a half. Like, that's how much of my time I had committed to that song. The next song I learned, I got into Toby Mac. So, highly influenced by my dad, DC Talk. I mean, they're one of my favorite bands. I prefer DC Talk over both Toby Mac and Newsboys and Audio Adrenaline, and then DC Talk all the way. So I was into Toby Mac at the time, didn't know much DC Talk, had heard Jesus Freak a few times. So I think the next song I learned was Toby Mac had recently released This Is Not a Test. So I learned This Is Not a Test. I did that. That only took me a few weeks, I think. And then after that, I think I did Feel It, which was a big hit at the time. And then I went back a little, did Forgiveness off of Eye on It, I think. And then after that, that's where things start to get fuzzy for me. Because my teacher was a farmer. So during the summer, he would have to cancel some of his lessons. And he told me in, I don't know, March, April probably. So I just want to let you know, I'm not going to be able to teach you over the summer. But we'll pick back up when the school year starts, because he had to work really hard. And I was 10 or 11 at the time, probably 11, and then when I was 11, my family moved to Florida. So I had to leave and I couldn't keep taking lessons with him. And unfortunately, I never picked up. It's been 6 years now. I've never got to go back. We moved to Florida and I got an electric kit, which I was like, oh, sweet, an electric kit. And it had been gifted to me. And I was like, sweet, this is pretty awesome. This is going to be really cool. I'm going to be able to make all kinds of different sounds with this. I didn't love the electric kit as much as I thought I would. It wasn't a bad kit by any means. It just turned out I was an acoustic guy. And I didn't really recognize that at the time. I thought that I didn't want to play drums anymore. So then I had the um, electric kit for 3 years, I think. I think I had it for 3 years. And I was not doing too good. I finally was like, okay, this is a skill that if I lose it, it's gonna be gone. I need to work on this. Not many people can do this, and it'll be something that'll stick with me throughout my life. And that was kind of when I decided, I think this is what I want to try and do with my life. I want to be a drummer. So I'd pick some songs, I'd learn to play them on the electric kit. Sometimes I'd opt for the cajon, and it wasn't great. I wasn't loving it. I wasn't feeling it. But I was still like, I want to be a drummer, I think. So I would keep practicing, keep playing. It was at that time that I finally learned to play Jesus Freak. And then I discovered Skillet, which, you know, I'm a Skillet fan. Easily my favorite band in the entire world. If you have never heard or listened to Skillet, I'm not surprised, but you have got to go listen to them, especially if you are a drummer. They are easily my favorite band of all time. Their drummer, Jen Ledger, she is my hero. I would love to, as they say, I want to be her when I grow up. I would love to someday follow in her footsteps and take over as the drummer for Skillet and start playing all of her parts on that stage with them. So I discovered Skillet. I still had the electric kit at the time. And I was actually very reluctant to listen to Skillet when I first heard about them. My aunt had been telling me about them, and she went to see them and how great they were and how I should really listen to their music. They have a great drummer. I would love it. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. But one day, her and I were going to Six Flags together. So I'm locked in her car, driving down the interstate. I'm not going to jump out, obviously. And she knew this. So she goes, oh, I have an idea. Skillet. And I'm like, great. I don't really remember it that well. It was a few years ago. But I believe she played Victorious, their album Victorious. So the first song I probably heard was Legendary, which makes sense because honestly, that's my favorite song of all time now. And I was like, oh, okay, these guys are pretty good. I went home. I listened to Skillet. I just told Alexa, play Skillet. And I think the first song that played was The Resistance. And I was like, okay, these guys aren't bad. They're not bad at all, which The Resistance is like, that's what Jen Ledger is known for, the Resistance outro. And then it was followed by Monster, I think, which is one of their biggest hits. I believe right now it's actually their top #1 song. And I was like, sick. I love this. Okay, I listened to them for a few months. And then finally I sat down and I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn to play Feel Invincible. Learned to play Feel Invincible. And I was like, oh, this is actually really boring. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll try another song. I tried Monster. Boom, love it. Okay, sweet. Learned to play The Resistance. I could not get that outro down. I was like, forget it. I give up. Came back later. I'm like, I think I can learn that outro now. Next thing you know, I'm playing the Resistance outro. And then I was working on the Resistance December 2021, I believe. And my parents got me my acoustic kit. And I was like, yes, finally, back to the acoustic. This thing is brand new. I've never had a real full-size, brand new drum set before. And I just started playing. And I was like, sweet, like I'm using this. I taught myself to play Sick of It, also by Skillet. And I was like, yes, this thing is way better. And at the time it was upstairs in the middle of our living room. And eventually it was like, okay, you gotta, I think we gotta move this drum kit downstairs. So now here I am in the basement. This is my setup now. I absolutely love it. And now, so moving on to how did I end up learning to play Metallica? Um, the first time I heard Metallica, I didn't know it was Metallica. I heard Enter Sandman at a car show, a classic car show. And I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty good. And like over the course of a week or two, I kept saying to myself, off to Never, Never Land. That was all I could remember from the song. I had no idea what the name was, who it was by, so I didn't figure it out. A few weeks later, maybe a few months later, I don't remember, but I watched this video posted on the Drumeo YouTube channel, which, by the way, go check them out if you're a drummer. It's great material, great way to learn. I love Drumeo. I go there like all the time. And they do this thing with every drummer that goes through their studio. They take them and they go, okay, this is your style of music. We're gonna make you play something totally different. And they play for them one time a song they've never heard before. So they play it and they listen to it, and then afterwards they're like, so have you ever heard that song before? No, never heard it before. Okay, sweet, play it now. And they're like, they think about it for a minute and they're like, okay, and then they play it. I believe the guy's name was Larnell Lewis. And I didn't even pick the song. I think it was my mom or dad picked the video, sorry. And it was Larnell Lewis here's Enter Sandman for the first time. And I think my mom saw the title and said like, what? He's never heard of Enter Sandman? And I'm like, what's Enter Sandman? Plays the video, they start with the intro, they start playing the song, and I'm like, ooh, this is really good. And then it gets to the end of the chorus, off to Never, Never Land. I'm like, oh, this is that song. And I watched the video all the way through. The guy does amazing. And I'm like, man, I want to learn to play that song. I sat at my kit I kept learning other songs, but this was the longest it had ever taken me to learn a song because I really liked it, but I hadn't heard it that many times because before I didn't know who it was by and the name of the song. And then once I did, I didn't have a way to listen to it frequently. So I told myself I'm going to listen to it minimum once a day, and then I'm going to figure out how to play it. I'm going to sit behind my kit. I'm going to air drum. That's one of the greatest ways you can learn a song is air drum to it, because then you're not playing over it and you can hear like ghost notes, etc. So I would do that, and even air drumming, I'm like, oh no, not yet, because I didn't know the song very well yet. Eventually, after like a month, 6 weeks, 2 months, I finally am like, okay, I didn't think I was ready actually, but I'm like, I'm going on vacation for a week. I'm not gonna get to sit behind my kit and air drum, and I'm not gonna get to listen to it too much because we were going to Disney World. It's not like I'm gonna sit down in the middle of Tomorrowland, pop in some AirPods and dee 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 dee. People are gonna think I'm crazy, which I mean I am, but they don't need to think I'm any more crazy than I am. So I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm doing it. So for the next week, I I played Enter Sandman. And I was like, okay, sweet. And I didn't quite have it down, but it wasn't that I didn't know how, it was that I was still trying to remember, okay, intro, verse, chorus, interlude, verse, chorus, solo, bridge, chorus. Which, for those of you who don't know, yes, that is the format of Enter Sandman. So I got that down finally, but then we left. And I came back and I'm like, I spent 2 weeks, I think, still like, I played it 5 times every day or something like that, 3 times, I don't know. But every single day I was like, Enter Sandman, Enter Sandman, Enter Sandman for 2 weeks. And I was finally like, wow, I think this is the hardest song I've learned to play. And since then I've learned to play way harder things like I've learned to play Master of Puppets. I've learned to play The Four Horsemen, both by Metallica, Red Hot by Motley Crue, Hot for Teacher by Van Halen. And I've learned to play some really hard stuff since then. And it's like, wow, because of that one song and that one band, that one drummer, Enter Sandman, Metallica, Lars Ulrich, I have become way better than I was before. And I'm just so happy about that. Now, looking at how I did in my video, I think I was a little nervous. That was my first video. I'd done it before where I recorded myself playing the song, but I didn't put too much effort into it. But playing I did, I put my all, but the editing I didn't worry too much about because I was just putting it together for family, really. And then I showed my grandpa, and my dad happened to be in the room, and he's like, you should start putting stuff on YouTube. And I'm like, I like that idea. I'm gonna do Enter Sandman. So I redid it, re-edited it. In the video, I definitely think I could have done better. Well, I know I could have done that better. I've definitely done better. I think it was a little bit of nerves that got to me. So hopefully I'll get over that. Maybe I'll revisit it in the future. But I think there were definitely a few times where I missed some fills and missed some cymbals. So in the future, I would definitely like to revisit that and make another video. Maybe, who knows, Enter Sandman Revisited or something like that. But yeah, and I'm gonna be here making content, releasing more covers. I've got plans to release another video soon. I'm thinking I'm gonna do either Iron Man by Black Sabbath or Carry On Wayward Son by Kansas. We'll see. Not quite sure yet. But yeah, I love classic rock. I love Christian rock. I don't really love metal, actually, just Metallica, really. And then I'll listen to funk, hip hop, stuff like that, just to mix it up every once in a while. But yeah, I'm all about drumming. I'm super excited, hope to make a career out of it. But hey, I'm here. I'm gonna keep releasing these drum covers, and maybe I'll branch out in the future. But you can definitely look forward to seeing more of me, seeing me grow. I'm definitely gonna push myself to the limit and push myself a little harder now that I know I have an audience. So thank you guys for watching. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time. Off to never, never land. Yeah.